There are many things that happen to you when you're driving your own car and a policeman stops you by. One of the first things that he would always ask you is to produce your license for inspection. And once he gets hold of the license, he asks you to park at the roadside. If they observe anything that doesn't look all right, they immediately say, I'm entering into your car, driving to the station. Today, we are talking about all of those things that happen on the road pertaining to you, the police officer, and your license. I'm Gordon Selassie Dakbo, and this is Make It Legal.
Make it legal.
Okay, so the first thing I need you to note is that there is a law in this country called the Road Traffic Regulations 2012, LI 2180. That law provides for a number of things. Number one is the mandatory requirement to carry along with you a driving license when you are driving your car. And then number two, it also provides for the fact that the police officer has the right to ask for your license and inspect it. And number three, it also provides for the police officer's right to retain or keep your license. Now, we'll delve into the details more, and I will read some of the regulations for you, and then we'll discuss it together and see whether or not the police officers are wrong in the way they do it sometimes, or you are just resisting them from complying with the law or to enforce the law against you. The first thing we'll look at is Regulation 25, and I'd like to read that for you. A person may drive a motor vehicle if that person has a learner's license or a driver's license. So there is a learner and a driver. These two persons are the only persons who can drive a motor vehicle. Just have that at the back of your mind. And the law is saying that these two persons may decide to drive only when they have a learner's license, if you are a learner. Number two, a driver's license, if you are a driver. In other words, if you do not have either of these licenses, you don't have any basis to jump into any car and sit at where the driver sits or where the learner sits. Very important to know. That is the first thing we are learning from Regulation 25 of LI 2180. The second thing you need to learn is that there are indeed, of course, 6 separate classes of licenses that are issued. They come from class A, B, C, D, E, F. 6 classes. And all of these classes are limited to specific motor vehicles that you can drive. For example, you cannot have class A license, driving machinery at a construction site or at an agricultural, site, or those tractors. No, you cannot drive them with the class A license. There are specific limits as to the kind of motor vehicle you can drive, depending on the class of license you have. So that is the second thing we are learning now. Now that you know that you can only drive a car or a motor vehicle when you are a learner with a learner's license, or you are a driver with a driver's license, there is something else I need you to know. Now, when you are on the road driving your car, the police oftentimes will stop you and ask you to produce your license. Now, the law on this particular thing the police engage in is also the same LI we are looking at. But I would like to read for you Regulation 47, which specifically provides for the power of a police officer or a DVLA officer to actually ask you to produce your license for inspection. Now, let's take sub-regulation 1. It says that a person driving a motor vehicle shall, while driving the motor vehicle, carry that person's original driver's license. That is the first thing you need to know. In other words, you commit a crime if you do not carry with you your driver's license whilst driving your car. You cannot drive your car in town without carrying the original copy of your driver's license. Now, people have oftentimes said that the police stops me and I show them a picture of my driver's license on my phone and they still said I should park to the side or I should take them to the station. Yeah, they have to. The question I ask is a picture on your phone the same as the original copy of the driver's license? I don't think they are the same. The law, unfortunately, did not make provision for you to convert your driver's license, the original copy, in any other form and carry it along and show it when they request for inspection. The law didn't make provision for that. What the law says is that you should carry with you the original copy of your driver's license whenever you're driving the car. And it is mandatory to carry it. In other words, if you don't carry it and you are driving the car in town, you're already guilty of a crime. The police has every right to stop you, and on stopping you, request for original copy of your license. If you don't have it, they have a right to immediately start putting the law into action to get you punished for not carrying it along. That is the law. Now, you will understand later what comes to play about 24 hours to produce it and all of that. Just take time. When we get there, I will explain it. But first of all, just know that you are mandated by law to carry a copy of your original driver's license with you in the car whenever you are driving the car. That is the first thing you need to know. If you don't do this, you are committing a crime, which is a road traffic offense. Now, sub-regulation 2 says that a person driving or in charge of a motor vehicle on a road shall, on the request by a police officer in uniform or an authorized officer of the licensing authority, produce the driver's license that authorizes that person to drive the motor vehicle for inspection. The law is saying that if you are driving your car or you are in charge of a motor vehicle on the road, you can be asked by the police officer who is in uniform or an authorized officer from the DVLA, that is a licensing authority. They can ask you to produce your license for inspection. So when the police officer stops you and asks that you produce your license for him to inspect, he's not guilty of a crime. He's just trying to enforce this law. Because the law says that whenever they see a car on the road and a person is seen to be in charge or a person is seen to be responsible for that car or the driver of that car, they can ask the person to produce his or her license for inspection. Now, when you read also sub-regulation 3, it says that despite sub-regulation 2, a police officer in uniform may request a person to produce within 24 hours the driver's license of that person to that officer at a designated police station or to another police officer as may be directed by the police officer. Now, pay a close attention to this. This one is saying that a police officer who is in uniform may request you, the driver, to produce your license to him later at a police station or to another police officer who is at some other police station within 24 hours. He can say that, you know what, I'm giving you 2 hours to produce your license. He can say that I'm giving you 20 hours to produce your license. It is within 24 hours, not 24 hours. So he has the power to decide when within the 24 hours he wants to permit you to bring the license. And he can refuse a discretion to ask you to produce it within 24 hours. It is not mandatory that whenever the police officer stops you and asks for your license for inspection and you don't have it, he must mandatorily give 24 hours. He can refuse to allow you bring it in 24 hours and start prosecuting you or start triggering the process of your punishment right and then. He can, on the spot, take you to the nearest police station and give you the necessary forms and ensure that you are sent to court and punished for going contrary to the law. What is the law here? The law is that you were driving the car without carrying along with you your driver's license. That is it. So it is at the police officer discretion to decide whether or not this driver, I will allow him or her to bring the license within 24 hours. And like I said, the law says within 24 hours. It didn't say 24 hours. So from 1 hour all the way to 24, the police officer has the discretion to allow you to bring the license that you are not carrying along with you, which is an offense. They can dispense of that offense. Say, you know what? I'm not going to punish you right away for not carrying it along with you. I'm going to wait for a few more hours. I'm giving you 10 hours. Produce your license. So don't misconstrue the law by saying that the police officers are supposed to give you 24 hours to produce your license whenever you don't carry it along. They are not mandated to. They have the discretion. That is where the law used the word may. A police officer in uniform may request you to produce your license within 24 hours to a police officer or to another police officer at a particular police station. That is what the law says. So know this and be guided. The next thing you will note from sub-regulation 4, which says that where a person driving a motor vehicle is required to produce a license, a certificate, or a document relevant to driving the motor vehicle, that person shall produce it immediately or within 24 hours of being required to produce the license, certificate, or document. Now, we have to read this carefully again and try to understand it. It says that where a person driving a motor vehicle is required to produce a license or a certificate or a document which is relevant to driving that motor vehicle, that person shall produce it, number one, immediately, or number two, within 24 hours of being required to produce the license, certificate, or document. Now, what you will note, first of all, is that the law is saying that in general terms, if you are asked to produce your license or any certificate pertaining to you driving that vehicle on the road, you have to produce it now. The time they are asking you on the spot, you produce it, or within 24 hours. The within 24 hours must be read together with the sub-regulation we read earlier, because the law gave the power to the police officer to permit you to bring it within 24 hours. So if the law is saying here that you can bring it now or within 24 hours, what it means is that you bring it now or you bring it within 24 hours when the police officer permits you to do so. That is my respectful opinion about how to properly understand the regulations. It does not mean that even if the police officer says that he will not give you 24 hours to produce it, you will still insist that you have 24 hours to produce it. No. The right to produce it within 24 hours is subject to the discretionary power of the police officer to so grant you any hours within 24 hours to produce it. That is what the law says. And that is my opinion of what the right meaning of the law should be. The last thing I think you need to note, which is very important, and that is where I think a lot of police officers also go contrary to the regulations, or a lot of drivers also breach the regulation. What is that provision? Let's read the regulation ourselves. It says that a police officer in uniform and not below the rank of an inspector may, when necessary, retain the driver's license for the period that that license is required, and shall issue an official receipt for the retention. It says that a police officer who is in uniform and who is also above the rank of an inspector can decide that, you know what, I'm going to retain your license, I'm going to keep your driving license, I'm going to seize your driver's license for a particular period of time as necessary. And when he does it, the law says that he's supposed to give you an official receipt indicating that so and so license from this person has been retained by the police. Now, it is important to note that the law says a police officer in uniform, and that police officer must be above the rank of an inspector. I mean, you and I are not police officers. We might not be well educated in what ranks are there in the police service, but we can find some few information on the internet. So I'll just run you through some of the ranks that are available. Now, you would know that we have ranks such as the constable, and we have lance corporal, we have a corporal, we have sergeant, we have inspector, we have chief inspector, all the way to inspector general of police. What it means is that a constable, a lance corporal, a corporal, and a sergeant has no right to seize your license on the road. It is only one who is not below the rank of an inspector. So if the person is below inspector's rank, that is a sergeant, corporal, lance corporal, and a constable, they cannot seize your driver's license. So I think it's important as a good citizen to always find out from the police officer in question what their full name with their ranks are. You may probably see it on name tag. You can ask them to, please, what is your rank in the police service? He has to tell you your rank because you need to know the rank he belongs to before you can permit him to go ahead and take your license if you want to seize it. Because if it's not in that rank and he seizes or retains your license, he is going contrary to the law and you can challenge him at appropriate courts. So I think these are the important things you need to note as far as you who drives motor vehicle on the road and the police officers who try to enforce the regulations of the road traffic regulations are concerned. I believe you learned few lessons from this, and please don't forget to share this video, share it across, let that police officer get to be aware, let that other citizen get to be aware, let that other driver also get to be aware. And I believe when we are all well informed, we can make good decisions and maintain law and order. I am Godwin Selassie Dakpo, and this is Make It Legal.
Make it legal.